Hello there, Larkonites. Larko Drago here, and I want to talk about the top 10 aliens from Ben 10. And if any of you have a favorite alien from Ben 10, let me know in the comments down below, and let me know what you think. So, with that in mind, allow me to introduce you to my top 10 aliens from Ben 10 that are my favorite personally. Starting with number 10, which is Ripjaws. Okay, Ripjaws is incredibly handy when it comes to underwater situations, such as if there's someone drowning underwater, Ripjaws can just rescue the person, and not to mention, pretty handy in underwater combat when it comes to it. Because Ripjaws can swim faster when he uses his tail. And not to mention, his claws are razor sharp that can literally cut through anything, and his teeth are the same. They can literally tear through steel like nothing. But Ripjaws does have a main weakness, which is dry land. He can't be on dry land for very long, otherwise he'll dry out. Say when it comes to heat. It would just make it worse. So other than that, Ripjaws is incredibly handy in underwater situations. Now on to number 9, which is Wrath. Don't get me wrong, Wrath is pretty hilarious, and not to mention ferocious. But he is pretty handy when it comes to combat and when it comes to situations where his athleticism is needed. But his temper does tend to get in the way a bit, and not to mention he does have a tendency to lose control at times, and not to mention the fact that he's not one of the sharpest tools in the shed here. But despite that, he's still pretty useful when it comes to combat and in situations where his athleticism is needed, and not to mention his claws can tear through anything, and they're retractable too. Plus, he's got some really fun wrestling moves, especially when he uses serious butt kicking. I love that one. So, on to number 8, which is Humongosaur. Okay, don't get me wrong, Humongosaur is a strong alien. Don't get me wrong on that one. But when it comes to... But he can get stronger when he goes 60 feet tall. And not to mention, when he goes to that state, he has more armor, and is much more durable. And has spikes on the end of his tail, and not to mention has an ultimate form, which is Ultimate Humongosaur. Because in that form, he can literally change his hands into cannons, and shoot lasers or missiles, which makes him an incredibly force of nature. But other than his ultimate form, there are some situations where Humongosaur got overpowered by the hybrid, Vilgax, well, in its normal state, might have had. But he does, Humongosaur is surprisingly really fast for his size and agile. But still, he's strong enough to lift cars, and not to mention buildings, like that one occasion with Agrigor, and can really put the hurt on someone if you so wanted to. So never mess with Humongosaur. Not to mention, to be honest, he felt a bit overused at Ben 10, mostly. Well, Ben 10 Alien Force. But other than that, he's pretty cool. So, on to number 7, which is Shockrock. And I know you all hate the reboot. Believe me, I hate it too. But one of the best things about the reboot is Shockrock. And I don't hate everything about the reboot. I just hate how it's made. I just wish that Ben 10 deserved better than this. It didn't deserve a reboot. But enough about that. Anyway, Shockrock is a pretty powerful alien that can go toe-to-toe with Vilgax. Not to mention it, Shockrock's species got even Vilgax spooked. Because Shockrock can generate weapons, and not to mention can absorb energy. And not to mention can power any machinery that he wants to, or just increase increase the machinery for extra juice. So, Balrog is not only strong, but not to mention deadly when it comes to combat, and not to mention when it comes to his power and potential. And not to mention one of the few aliens that defeated Vilgax more than once, other than Waybig. Now on to number 6, which is Chroma Stone. Okay, Chroma Stone is a pretty awesome alien that can fly, shoot lasers, absorb energy, and has enhanced strength. A bit of an enhanced strength anyway. But still, not to mention he's incredibly durable. And not to mention, he has the ability to restore Petrovia as long as the stars are aligned. So yeah, pretty powerful. Although his durability does have limits when Vilgax smashed him into pieces with Titanite. Well, when his sword was coated in Titanite. So, and not to mention, Chroma Stone has a limit to how much energy he can absorb. And not to mention how much he can use. So, other than those weaknesses, he's pretty powerful and pretty handy. And number 5 is Diamond Head. Okay, Diamond Head is one of the most versatile aliens that Ben has, especially when he uses him in combat. Because not only can he shift his arms into blades or shoot small shards, or as projectiles, he could really make a boomerang, crystal boomerangs, like Tetrax did. Although, there are a few weaknesses Diamond Head has, like vibrations on the right frequency would shatter him, and not to mention spikes on his back would get him stuck to a wall. So, despite those weaknesses, Diamond Head is surprisingly agile, and not to mention can create any weapon with the crystals, and not to mention can really put the hurt on someone, even Vilgax, on one occasion. Because never underestimate someone who's made of crystal. Or anything like that at all, but really. So, now on to number 4, which is Gravitech. Gravitech is a powerful alien from Omniverse that can manipulate gravity as if nothing, and can turn himself into a planet just to make things orbit around him, and can survive pretty much well in space, and can increase their gravity or decrease it. So that makes him a pretty dangerous alien when it comes to combat, but also pretty useful. So, other than that, Gravitech is pretty powerful. But although he does have that weakness of, his core. If someone were to hit it or mess with it, well, let's just say he would blow up really badly. Now on to number 3, which is Waybig. Okay, Waybig is incredibly tall, and not to mention strong. And not to mention can shoot lasers. And in the games, Waybig can potentially make cosmic storms. Well, in cosmic destruction, I mean. And I know it's non-canon, but I really wish he had that ability, though. Would have been cool. Still, Waybig has a few weaknesses, like if someone were to attack the frill of his head, he would be knocked down. And not to mention, he can accidentally bump into buildings. So, other than those weaknesses, Waybig can be pretty useful in battle, and surprisingly, he's got enhanced speed, despite his size. And he has an ultimate form, too, which makes him even more dangerous, and not to mention even more strong, more powerful, really. Now on to number 2, which is Upgrade. Okay, Upgrade is one of my most favorite aliens, and not to mention the most interesting, because not only can he bond computers and all that, he can bond to any other machinery. such as a baseball launcher or simply a machinery in a factory in order to turn things around. And not to mention, he could control any kind of form of technology if he so wanted to, and enhance it a lot. And not to mention, he could bomb with vehicles just so he could give someone a runner, and can literally make weapons. Upgrade is not to be underestimated. But although Upgrade does have a weakness when it comes to magnets because his body's basically made of living metal. But other than that, still pretty cool. Now on to number 1, which is Heat Blast. That's right. The first alien that Ben transformed into. Because although Heat Blast is not one of the strongest physically, but he is powerful when it comes to firepower. Literally. Because not only can he shoot streams of flames from his hands, but also from his mouth too, like a dragon. And not to mention, he has limited geokinesis, which means he can summon a stone platform in order to fly better. And not to mention, can create fire discs or any kind of projectiles in order to make things more handy for himself. And not to mention, can literally go supernova hot, which makes him incredibly deadly when it comes to that kind of firepower. And not to mention, fire is my favorite element, so why not? But also, he does have a weakness to water, so he does have to watch out for that. It will put out his flames for about a few moments, maybe get vulnerable. Now, that's my top 10 aliens, but I want to add in a bonus alien, just for good measure. So, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce to you the bonus alien for today is Gray Matter. Now, don't get me wrong, Gray Matter is small, but what he lacks in size, he makes up for it in intelligence. Because not only can Gray Matter go through small places, whereas other aliens could not, he can mess with any kind of technology and would turn it into a ray gun, or just simply something very useful, in order to get through things, or just smash things. Because one thing I know for sure is to never underestimate the little guy, because it would surprise you a lot. Because, okay, anyway, Gray Matter is one of the smartest aliens in the Omnitrix, other than Brainstorm. But still pretty handy when it comes to places that he could fit, or any other aliens that could fit, I mean. So, yeah. And that's all for today. So, if any of you have a favorite, if any of you again have a favorite alien, let me know in the comments down below. And if you like this video, be sure to give this a like. And if you want, be sure to subscribe to my channel for the content. And so, Larkanites, I bid you adieu. So, adios, and I hope you all have a good day.